My husband called my boss to sack me from work. When I got married to my husband, we have absolutely nothing. We had absolutely nothing. There were days we could struggle to put food on our table. My parents were the ones supporting us. My father would bring foodstuffs, send money when we needed it, and sometimes help us with things my husband couldn't afford. I never looked down on my husband because of those difficult times. In fact, I stood by him and prayed that things would get better. Eventually, things changed. My husband started making money. We moved to a better place and life became more comfortable. The moment money entered his hands, something else entered his heart, pride. One day, he called me and said something that shocked me. From now on, I don't want to see your family in this house. I thought I heard him wrongly. What did you just say? He repeated himself. I didn't want your parents coming here anymore. That night, our house became battlefield. I reminded him of everything. I told him that when we had nothing, my parents were the people bringing food into this house. They were ones supporting us when things were difficult. I looked at him and said, are you not ashamed of yourself? When things were hard, you allowed my parents to support us. Now that things are better, you don't even want to see them again. You are an ingrate. We exchanged words until arguments became unbearable. But I never imagined that my husband would eventually carry out what he said. A few days later, my father called. My daughter, I'm bringing some foodstuffs for you. My heart broke. I couldn't hide it anymore. Daddy, please, don't come inside. My husband doesn't want you around anymore. There was silence on the phone. My father said calmly, don't let it bother you. When I get to your estate gate, I would leave everything with the security men who come and collect it later. That was exactly what he did. I went to the estate gate later and carried the foodstuffs home. That day I cried, not because I was ashamed of receiving food from my father. I cried because the man I married had forgotten who stood beside us when we had nothing. My father and I agreed not to tell my mother what was happening because she wasn't feeling well. I didn't want her health to get worse because of my marriage. Then I made another decision. I would find a job. I have a master's degree, but my husband had always insisted that he didn't want me to work. He said he could care for me, but how could I continue depending on a man who was trying to cut me off from my family and refusing to provide properly for me? So I started searching. Eventually I got a job. I called my father and told him I needed money to buy some clothes for work and pay for my baby's crèche. As usual, my father helped me. I resumed work. I thought things were finally going to change. I was wrong. On my first day at work, I was about to enter my office when my boss called me. Come into my office. I entered. My boss immediately gave me a sign not to say anything. He placed his phone on speaker. Then I heard a familiar voice. It was my husband's voice. My husband was telling my boss to sack me. I stood there in disbelief. My boss tried to reason with him, but my husband became aggressive. He was making threats and insisting that I must lose the job. Eventually, my boss looked at me with pity and said, I'm sorry, but I don't want trouble. He ended the call. Then he told me I was no longer needed. Just like that, my first day at work became my last day. I packed my things with tears in my eyes and went home. As I approached my estate gate, I saw a woman standing there. I quickly composed myself because she's a very big lady in that estate. She looked at me and asked me what was doing me. I told her I am looking for a job. She asked for my CV. I gave her a copy. I went inside, packed my things and went to my parents' house to cool off. After some time, I started calling the woman. She stopped answering my calls. I couldn't understand what was happening. Eventually, I went back to the estate hoping to find her, but I couldn't. I gave up. Then I got another job. And guess what? My husband did the same thing again. He called the company and they fired me. At this point, I was broken. I sat in my parents' house and cried. What kind of marriage is this? I had a master's degree. I was educated. I was willing to work. I was not asking him for his money. Yet my own husband was making sure I couldn't earn a living. Then one day, my phone rang. It was the woman from the estate. I answered immediately. She said, I am sorry. Sorry I avoided you. I asked why. She signed. Your husband came to me. I don't know how he discovered that you gave me your CV, but he came to me and warned me not to give you a job. My heart sank. She continued, but I have decided to help you. I am sending you to a bank. Submit your documents there. I will try my best to help you. I didn't waste a second. I went to the bank, submitted everything she asked for. Then something amazing happened. I was selected. Training began. On the second day of training, my name was called. Only my name. I stood up and they told me the regional manager wants to see me. At that moment, my whole body started shaking. Why would the regional manager want to see me? They drove me from the branch to another branch. As I entered the building, a man greeted. You are beautiful. I smiled politely. Thank you, sir, but I am married. He said surprised. He looked surprised. Really? You don't look married. I laughed nervously. Yes, sir. I am married with one child. I entered the manager's office. Then he turned the laptop towards me. My blood froze. On the screen was an email. It was from my husband. He had written to the bank accusing me of terrible things. He claimed I had bad records. He claimed that I had been saying I would steal from the bank. And then he made the most disgusting accusation of all. He called me a prostitute. I don't want to finish it. Then Manager looked at me. What do you have to say about all this allegation? I swallowed my tears. Sir, all of these accusations are false. The person who sent this mail is my husband. He doesn't want me to work. The manager looked at me. Please stop training. I turned around. I was about to open the door when it suddenly opened. It was the same man who had greeted me earlier. He looked at me. Then he looked at the manager. What is going on? The manager explained everything. The man listened carefully and he said, Sir, I can defend one thing here. Everyone became quiet. He continued, the accusation that she's a prostitute is completely false. He looked at the manager. I greeted this woman outside. I complimented her beauty. And the first thing she told me was that she was married. He shook his head. If she was the kind of woman he is describing, why would that be the first thing she would tell me, a strange man? The room became silent. The manager picked up his phone. He called the husband. That was when everything came out. The manager questioned him about the accusation. My husband eventually became angry and shouted that he didn't want me to work. He said, I don't need her to work. I have everything. I have all it takes to take care of her. The manager's voice changed. So that's the real reason my husband became quiet. And the manager continued, you are deliberately destroying your wife's employment because you don't want her to work. Then he told my husband something I will never forget. You are a very wicked man. Do you think you are richer than me sitting down here? I am a billionaire, yet my wife works. She has to work. She earns her own money to support the family. No matter where you think you are today, you need a woman to build together with. At times, it might not be in your hand. You will run to her. What do you think you are doing? Even if you don't want her to work, is that enough for you to lay this kind of allegation on somebody you call your wife? And he ended the call. Then he looked at me. We will give you this job and your husband cannot stop us. If he tries me, I will deal with him. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I got the job. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe again. But I had already made my decision. This was no longer a marriage to me. A husband should not be person destroying his wife's opportunity. A husband should not use his influence to make his wife financially helpless. A husband should not lie against his wife just because he wanted to control her. So while he was away, I packed my belongings. I took my child, took the things that belongs to me, and I left. I went to my parents' house. When my husband returned and realized I was gone, he called me repeatedly. I didn't answer because this time I wasn't running away from him. I was running towards my freedom. I looked at my child and cried. I told myself, maybe I lost a husband, but I found myself, because marriage is supposed to be a partnership. It is not supposed to be a prison. And any man who has to destroy your future just to prove that he is the one in control already destroyed everything. He kept calling, and my father picked the call and told him we are no longer interested in the marriage, that we'll be returning the bride price, and still want to use the opportunity to thank him for how he paid him back of everything he did for him. When we got married, my father was the one that rented 3-bedroom for us, paid for 2 years and furnished it, always giving us money to make sure we are comfortable. My father told him this is the reason most rich men don't allow poor people into their family. Most of you are good diggers. At the end of the day, want to enslave my daughter. We are no longer interested. Later, my father returned the bride price. He begged, but my father said no. You shot my daughter and missed the target. There is no way he can forgive you because you never meant well for her or any member of my family. To the glory of God, we ended the marriage. I'm remarried after 2 years. That first man I saw that day that I went to rich manager's office, we later started talking and I discovered he was still single, and we got married years after. We are happily married. He's everything my ex-husband wasn't, and I really thank God for everything.